My name is Mihaly Fazekas and I come from the University of Cambridge Department of Sociology. In a way, you can say that I'm the father of DIGIWHIST, but then you also have to say that there have been and there are really many other mothers of DIGIWHIST, those who worked on developing the proposal and keep on working on delivering the project. It's really a collaborative effort which we do together as parents. DIGIWHIST came from a lot of different influences and disappointments with what's going on in Europe and more globally, but it has been driven by a couple of pilots, a couple of interesting innovations as part of Anticorp, but as part of other work in the Czech Republic and Hungary. In Hungary we developed something which we can call now as a pilot for DIGIWHIST, a set of corruption measurement instruments, set of indicators which build on big data in public procurement, rich data sets from government contracting, but also company data and political office holder data. And by combining these data sets and looking for patterns of what's normal, what's the norm in certain markets, and what's the deviation from that norm, I came up with a range of indicators of corruption risk, which can be used for tracking corruption over time. You can rate organizations, you can even go after individuals whom you think they are part of shady deals. So one of the websites which I developed with colleagues from the Corruption Research Center Budapest as part of Anticorp is called tendertracking.eu. So this is where we disclose the first bits of data in Hungary on public procurement and some of the red flags and risk scores which we have developed. And surprisingly, this already has been picked up by media. So for example, one of the development projects, one of the construction projects which score one of the highest, top 10% of the corruption risk index which we developed, the journalists went there, checked out the building, what's going on, talked to the people. So I really see that the first steps have been taken, and we really hope that such interaction with journalists and civil society will develop all across Europe. DIGIWHIST will help fight corruption, I think, in two major ways. One is enabling researchers to develop and test better theories of anti-corruption and anti-corruption reforms. So we will unlock an enormous amount of data and indicators, but also we will deploy a set of softwares and mobile applications and online platforms where citizens and policymakers and auditors and investigators can interact with the data and then can link their rich local knowledge to the so-called big data which we are delivering for them. So a really practical, easy to understand example. Take for example, you drive on a highway and you realize that the highway is full of potholes, even though the nice banners advertise that it has been completed only a few months ago. You are obviously upset about it. So then what you can do with the help of DIGIWHIST outputs is that you take your mobile phone, go on our mobile app, and you search for the project. You immediately can find it because it's geolocated, and you can search for highways, roads in your area. And then what you see is like, oh, this is the company who delivered it. This is the civil servant who signed the contract, who's responsible from public side. And these are the red flags. These are the risk scores which are accompanying this particular contract. Now, if you take a photo, because you are upset, it matters for you, it's your road where you drive regularly, then you can attach that to the big data which we are providing. So, in effect, we are trying to marry big data, rich, quantitative evidence with the local knowledge of people who care about those contracts, care about those projects. Corruption is notoriously difficult to measure, and we cannot claim that we measure corruption directly. Instead, what we do, we develop a range of proxy indicators which indirectly get at what the heart of corruption is in the transactions of distributing public money, of purchasing goods for the public good. So we look for signs of corruption in transactions on the ground, which we believe, and we have strong evidence for supporting this belief, which relate to actual corruption. For most of it, what we measure might not be directly corrupt by the letter of the law, but they definitely particularistic, favoritistic allocation of public goods. The workflow of DIGIWHIST is not as complicated as you might think, because it really starts from legislation at the very beginning of the process, legislation which defines what should be public, what is permissible to do, what not. Then we look at the actual contracting activities coming out of these, and then we link these contracting activities, this transactional data, to the actors behind these transactions. So how the different partners in DIGIWHIST work together on this, that each of us is responsible for different parts of this kind of production line, if you like. So for example, the Hertie School of Governance is responsible for delivering the legislative data, understanding the rules governing public procurement, but also a couple of other mechanisms of accountability. The University of Cambridge, as a second step, is responsible for the de facto indicator, the de facto data on public procurement activities, as well as a lot of the data on organizations and actors taking part in public procurement. And then other actors, other partners in DIGIWHIST are responsible for disseminating the information, packaging, turning it into something useful for policymakers, something useful for data-driven journalists or simple citizens. So for example, Open Knowledge Foundation is responsible for the web-based platforms, the mobile applications which citizens can use to track public procurement and risk scores. The Università Cattolica in Milan is responsible for developing a software and a training material for civil servants, auditors, investigators who want to use these data and indicators in their everyday tools. And we also have two highly innovative SMEs from Eastern Europe, one in the Czech Republic and one in Hungary. So DAT-Lab in Czech Republic and the Corruption Research Center Budapest in Hungary. They are in a way also the fathers of DIGIWHIST, because they carried out some of the initial innovative work in this area, focusing on their countries.